Patrick was asking of Igor Tudor was, you said a new manager could bring hope. Have you brought hope now that you've got this result?
Yeah,
I think Igor Tudor thought that he was saying, can a new manager after you bring hope that maybe you haven't brought so far? So I think they may have been at cross purposes for that one. But what I think is a fair question to ask him is has he brought hope? Because there was a lot of speculation about whether or not he would last past the end of this game if it was a heavy defeat, if it was another poor performance.
He's been under pressure, the manager, so I think there was a bit of confusion there, maybe with translation or whatever. But they'll have hope after today's performance and result. Of course they will. And that's what you got to have as any football manager, player, supporter. So the Spurs fans leaving Anfield today will go back with a bit of hope and a bit more belief because they saw a little bit of fight. We know Spurs over the last few years, we always say, well, they kind of do have that quality. I said that before the game. But the question marks and where people have been looking at Spurs, but do Spurs have that real fight to be, down there? They're not used to it or whatever it might be, and they're on a lack of confidence, the results, even going back to the last year or two. But they showed that today. And that's all the manager can focus on. He mentioned there about simplifying stuff. And I think that's a good start. Keep it simple for the players. No point in confusing them. They're in a battle. They've got to roll their sleeves up. They did that. But also, that won't be enough either. You have to show quality. And they showed quality today. They showed quality with their attacking player, with their fighting desire. But they have to keep that going on for the season. They have to. Today just won't be enough. They have to build on that. And obviously, they've got a European game. Whether the manager, I don't like this idea of writing games off. But the priority for Spurs in the next week or two is the Forest game, without a shadow of a doubt. And if they put in that type of performance and quality, getting players back, I'll go back to what I said before the show. I think Spurs will be OK.
On the one hand, you've got a manager who's lost his first 4 games and then earns a point with a late equaliser. On the other hand, you can look at that Spurs performance as the game grew on against Liverpool and say, maybe he is getting something out of the players. Where are you on that, Ashley?
I think today you look and think he did get something out of the players, especially in that second half. They were running, they were willing to run, they were willing to run back, they were tackling, they were creating chances. That's what he would be looking and thinking, this is the team that I want. Is there hope for Tottenham? This is just the start. Of course, today is just the start. We were saying if they lost today, would he have been in a job tomorrow? Probably not. But it is now, you have to build on that. You can't just sit back on your laurels now and just be like, well, we went to Anfield. Everyone knows what it's like coming to Anfield. It's a tough place. But like Roy said there, them fans, they were clapping them. We didn't see that Palace the other day. They were out by half-time. Today they were standing till the end, seeing the team, seeing the fight, seeing that, do you know what? There's character in this squad. But like I said, they've now got to carry on and build on that. And if they don't, well, they're going to see themselves in trouble and there'll be questions of the manager again.
Yeah, they've got it all on. They've got Atletico Madrid, they've got to turn around a huge deficit there. Can they do it? It's going to be hard. But then they've got to make sure when they get back against Nottingham Forest next week, they are ready. And whatever team he picks, and I mentioned there about Mickey van der Ven and Romero. Romero's the captain, World Cup winner, and Mickey van der Ven's one of their best players. But this season, they have been so far off it. And that's why I'm just questioning, maybe do something else. Maybe play players that look like they really want to fight for this. Those games that aren't going to be easy.
The thing is, he had, 13 players out for this one, with Conor Gallagher being added to the pre-match kind of injury list and unavailable list. So he doesn't really have the option to play too many different players.
Kelly, we were just saying off camera there, when the manager, he gets a phone, when someone knocks on his door this morning, Conor Gallagher says, I'm not up for it, I don't feel well, Gaffer, but I'll play for you. That tells you everything. They are down to their bare bones in terms of bringing on players that haven't had Premier League experience. Next week, things might improve. Now, would they be in this predicament if they had Kulusevski and Maddison? No, they wouldn't be, but they are. So what you have to do is just fight with everything that you've got. I think the three of us said right at the start of the show, if they lose today, the manager would have changed. Now, would it brought new hope? I don't know. Who's out there? Sean Dyche has been mentioned. Other people have been mentioned, and it wouldn't have maybe made any difference because unless the players give everything, and sometimes right now you're playing week that you can't do that much tactics with the players because you've got to go again midweek. Then you've got to go again the weekend against Nottingham Forest. You can't really work on systems. Today they're falling on a front two. Now, is that going to be the way to go? Just to find some points, somehow get some results, scrap, fight, do everything that you can.
With your teams down there, if you've got to give me a choice of which group the players to work with, I'd go with the Spurs group. Because of all their problems and
what? Because of the centre forwards and centre backs.
I think there's a goal threat, and I think that what we saw today with the physicality, and you said there's obviously maybe lack of options because there's so many injuries. But sometimes that suits a manager. Go, listen, lads, this is all we've got. And that's why he was a bit more they seemed more simple in their play today. It wasn't complicated because the manager's hands are tied a little bit, and sometimes that's the way it pans out. A manager can trip onto a system. We go, that wasn't my plan 2 or 3 weeks ago, but because we got injuries, we've got 2 lads up front who were physical. Let's just go a bit direct, and that's what they were today. Maybe that's the way to go till the end of the season, just to get out of a bit of the trouble they're in. So I'd still go with this group of players to Spurs to get out of trouble.
Even though there isn't a chance to kind of get them back and get them fit and refreshed between match fixtures, that you are going to have to stretch that squad as thin as you can.
There's an international break in a week or two, whatever. You'd like to think Spurs to get 1 or 2 players maybe back after that, even for the last 4 or 5 games. But over the next week or two, getting through obviously the European game, you got Forest. Yeah, just focus on the group who've done well today and roll their sleeves off, because that's half the battle. Because what you're finding out about your players now is the characters, and if players are missing and players obviously generally injured, but you've got a group of players, you go, listen, I didn't fancy you when I came in 2 or 3 weeks ago, but you're the group that might get me out of trouble.
The big thing is, Kelly, I think, is their home form. The players look terrified playing at home. They don't look comfortable. If things go against them, they concede a goal, they shrink, they don't show that character to get on the ball. And bravery comes in different guises. You know, some people think like going into a tackle, that's being brave. Others, it's receiving the ball on the half-turn when you're under pressure. And I just think they shrink. Now, somehow they've got to find it with them, because Nottingham Forest next week will go there. They'll sit back. It'll be totally different to this today. They'll sit back and they'll just wait for counter-attack a little bit like they have got success over the last few years. So that's not going to be easy. So that gives you a different problem. It's all right getting a point here, as Ashley said. It's next week when you're at home, when you've got to try and find that little bit of pressure. And the fans, maybe they start to give the ball away. How do you handle that? So this point will only be good if they get something next week, because that's going to be such a big game. And it could shape the end of the season, because if you get Chin there, then they're all of a sudden right back in it.
Yeah, there's always more pressure when you're playing at home, obviously. And Jamie mentioned the word courage. And courage is wanting the ball when you don't want it.
Yeah.
And that's when the fans are on your back, or obviously Spurs, they might be leaving after half an hour, going to half-time. You have to ignore all that as a footballer. You have to. And just want the ball when you don't want it. When you're under pressure, somebody's behind. And they've done that today, to be fair. I know it's away from home and slightly easier, there's less pressure because nobody expects them to get a result. But next week when you're home at the Forest, show that courage you showed today. And again, want the ball in tight situations, and even say to your teammates, give it to me. I don't mind. I can deal with it. That's why you're playing for these big clubs, to deal with that pressure.
I think that's what they've got to do, you know, especially next week when they're at home. They've got to show what they showed in the second half and do that early, then to get the fans on side. That's what will help them. And then you can grow into the game, your confidence then starts coming out, the belief in everybody around the ground then starts coming out and filters onto the pitch. You know, you start creating chances. That would then be fantastic for the fans are with you, and then it's down to the players to then go out, put on a performance and get the win. Once they get that win, they go into the international break, the manager can then start, you know, working more with the players. A few players might come back, then you go into the final few games of the season.
Is this enough to end speculation about Igor Tudor's future, or has it deferred it?
I think it's enough. We're talking about Tottenham, though, Kelly. You know, I'm not sure some of the decisions they've made over the last couple of years with getting rid of the manager, always thinking that's the right thing to do. So it hasn't always paid off. But I don't see right now the value in changing. You know, it's just not that easy. There aren't many candidates out there, as I say. But I think if they'd have lost, that would have forced their hand. I think the fans would have demanded it. And then you'd been searching, trying to find the next manager, trying to keep you up. I don't know, what would you have gone with, Roy?
What, changing them? No, but if it's enhanced. The fact they've got a result today will give them a bit more belief and confidence. And I'm delighted for the manager who's gone in there. Listen, everyone thinks they can do a better job than the manager is in there. I think what they've done today, the bit of fight, a bit of spirit. No, I'm delighted he's got a result today and he's got another opportunity to try and get some results over the next week or two. You just can't keep chopping and changing all the time. We've seen other clubs trying to do. We've seen a Forest, and it doesn't always work. Give this man a chance. He's in the door a few weeks. Hopefully a bit of confidence for the players and for the manager today. And we saw him in the interview afterwards. He can get maybe a bit more belief in his tactics and his messages to the player from getting a positive result today and a decent performance.